The elevator doors slid open on the 7th floor, and I nearly collided with him. Sorry, the word died on my lips as my hand shot out to steady myself, landing flat against Luca Volante's chest. Solid, warm. I could feel his heartbeat through the thin cotton of his shirt, surprisingly fast for someone who always seemed so calm. Gianna, my name came out rough, strained. His hand caught my wrist, not pulling me away but holding me there against him. You need to be more careful. I looked up into eyes I'd memorized over 8 months of stolen glances and careful conversations. Gray-blue, usually soft when he smiled at me in the lobby, not soft now. It was an accident, I said, but I didn't pull away. Neither did he. The air between us felt charged, dangerous. We'd been dancing around this thing for months, the attraction that crackled every time we passed in the hallway, every time he held the door, every time I caught him watching me with an intensity that made my skin burn. Was it? His other hand came up to brace against the wall beside my head, trapping me in the hallway outside our apartments. Because you've been accidentally running into me a lot lately. Accidentally wearing those dresses that drive me insane. Accidentally biting your lip when you think I'm not looking. My breath caught. This was Luca, quiet, respectful Luca who fixed Mrs. Petrova's leaking sink and helped Mr. Yamamoto carry groceries. The man who'd never been anything but a perfect gentleman for 8 months. The man currently looking at me like he wanted to devour me whole. I don't know what you mean, I whispered, but even I could hear the lie. No, he leaned in closer, his breath warm against my ear. Then tell me to stop, Gianna. Tell me you haven't been thinking about me the way I think about you. Tell me you don't go to bed every night wondering what would happen if I ever stopped being good. 8 months. 8 months of watching him from my apartment window as he left for work in expensive suits that seemed too refined for a freelance consultant. 8 months of inventing reasons to check my mail when I heard him in the lobby. 8 months of wanting something I convinced myself I couldn't have. If you tease me again, he said, voice dropping to something dark and dangerous, I swear I'll make you regret every second of it. It should have scared me. Instead, heat pooled low in my stomach. Maybe, I heard myself say, I want to regret it. Something snapped behind his eyes. The careful control he'd maintained for 8 months shattered like glass. He kissed me like a man starved, demanding, consuming, his hand tangling in my hair as he pressed me harder against the wall. I gasped against his mouth and he swallowed the sound, his tongue sliding against mine with devastating skill. When he pulled back, we were both breathing hard. Inside, he growled, now. Yours are mine. Mine. I'm not letting you out of my sight tonight. He grabbed my hand and pulled me into his apartment, the door slamming shut behind us with a finality that should have been a warning. I'd been inside before, brief visits when he borrowed coffee or returned packages, but I'd never really looked. Now, with my heart hammering and desire fogging my brain, details began penetrating my awareness. The artwork on his walls was too expensive, original pieces that belonged in galleries. The laptop open on his coffee table displayed text in Cyrillic characters. A locked cabinet in the corner looked reinforced, military grade. And on the entry table, partially hidden under his keys, the unmistakable outline of a gun. My nursing training had taught me to notice details, to piece together stories from evidence. But before I could process what I was seeing, Luca spun me around and kissed me again, walking me backward toward his bedroom. Wait, I managed between kisses. No more waiting. He lifted me easily, and I wrapped my legs around his waist on instinct. 8 months I've been patient. 8 months watching you, wanting you, forcing myself to keep my distance. I'm done being good. He dropped me on his bed and I bounced once, looking up at him standing over me. In the dim light spilling from the hallway, he looked different. Harder. Dangerous in a way that had nothing to do with the passion between us. Take off your dress, he ordered. Excuse me. You heard me. His voice carried absolute authority, the tone of someone used to being obeyed. Take it off or I'll do it for you. And Gianna, I can't promise I'll be gentle. My hands trembled as I reached for the zipper. Some rational part of my brain screamed that this was too fast, too intense, that I didn't really know this man at all. But I'd wanted him for 8 months, fantasized about him, craved him. I pulled the dress over my head, leaving me in just my underwear, vulnerable under his hungry gaze. "Beautiful," he breathed, prowling closer. He shrugged off his shirt, and that's when I saw them. Scars, too many scars for a freelance consultant. One that looked unmistakably like a bullet wound. Another that could only have been made by a knife, jagged and vicious across his ribs. "Luca, what?" He covered my mouth with his, kissing away the questions until all I could focus on was his hands on my skin, his weight pressing me into the mattress, the feeling of finally, getting what I'd wanted for so long. The sex was explosive, intense. He learned my body with devastating efficiency, pushing me to the edge again and again until I was begging, completely undone beneath him. Afterward, tangled in his sheets with my heart still racing, reality came crashing back. I traced one of the scars on his chest, the jagged line that could have killed him. "How did you get this?" His hand caught mine, stilling it. "Gianna." Freelance consultants don't usually have bullet wounds. The silence stretched too long. "You should go," he said finally, his voice completely changed. Cold, distant. I sat up, clutching the sheet to my chest. "What?" "Back to your apartment." He swung out of bed, pulling on jeans with his back to me. "This was a mistake. You should leave before things get more complicated." "A mistake." Hurt and anger flared hot in my chest. We just. "I know what we just did." He turned, and the man looking at me wasn't Luca at all. This was someone else entirely, someone harder. "And it shouldn't have happened. Get dressed. Go home. Pretend this didn't happen." "You don't get to do this," I snapped, yanking my dress off the floor. "You don't get to seduce me, sleep with me, and then throw me out without explanation." "Watch me." I was halfway to the door, furious and humiliated, when it burst open. 3 men flooded in, guns drawn, moving with military precision. I screamed, stumbling backward, and suddenly Luca was there, putting himself between me and the armed intruders. "Constantin," one of them said in heavily accented English. "We have problem." Constantin, not Luca. My brain stuttered, trying to process. These men knew him. This wasn't a home invasion. They were treating him with deference like, "Victor," Luca, Constantin said, his voice completely transformed. Commanding, cold, the voice of someone used to absolute obedience. "Not now." "Is now. Yuri knows about the shipment. He's moving tonight." "Then handle it." "Boss wants you there. Says no excuses." Boss, shipment, armed men in his apartment like this was normal. Oh God, what had I done? Had I just slept with a criminal? The question screamed through my mind as Victor's cold eyes fixed on me, assessing, calculating. "Who is girl?" he asked, his accent thick. "No one," Constantin said flatly. "She's leaving." "She hears too much already." Victor's hand didn't move toward his gun, but the threat was implicit. "She stays until we know if she's problem." Every muscle in Constantin's body went rigid. "She's not a problem, Victor. She's my neighbor who was just leaving. Stand down." "Your neighbor?" Victor's smile was unpleasant. "That makes her problem. Grigori will want to know about this liability." I said stand down. The command in Constantin's voice made all 3 men hesitate. "Gianna is under my protection. Anyone who touches her answers to me personally. Are we clear?" The words should have reassured me. Instead, they made everything worse. Protection, liability, as if I were a business complication instead of a person. "We need to talk to Grigori about this," Victor insisted. "Fine, you talk to Grigori. Tell him I said the girl is mine and off limits." Constantin's voice could have cut steel. "Now get out. I'll meet you downstairs in 5 minutes." The men left, but not before Victor gave me one more assessing look that made my skin crawl. The door closed. Constantin, I couldn't think of him as Luca anymore, turned to face me. The mask was completely gone. This was someone else entirely. "Don't," he said as I backed away. "Don't come near me. What the hell was that? Who are you?" "It's complicated." "Complicated?" My voice rose toward hysteria. "You have armed men breaking into your apartment. They called you by a different name. They talked about shipments and bosses and killing me like it was a normal Tuesday. I told you to leave." No apology in his voice. "You should have left when I told you to." "You don't get to blame this on me." Tears burned my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. "You've been lying to me for 8 months. Who are you, really?" He ran his hand through his hair, and for the first time looked genuinely conflicted. "My name is Konstantin Volkov. I work for the Bratva, Russian organized crime. My father, Grigory, runs East Coast operations. I handle the Midwest." The confirmation made my knees weak. I sank onto his couch, my dress still half unzipped, my world tilting on its axis. "You're a gangster." "Crime boss is more accurate." He crouched in front of me, careful, like approaching a spooked animal. "And yes, before you ask, I've killed people. I run illegal operations. Everything you're thinking about me right now is probably true." "Why?" My voice cracked. "Why move in next door to me? Why the helpful neighbor act?" "There was no point initially. I moved here for business. There's a target in this building. You were completely incidental." He paused. "But then you smiled at me in the elevator, and you were so damn beautiful and genuine and good. I thought maybe I could have something normal just for a little while. So I became Luca, the helpful neighbor, and I fell for you while lying about everything I am." "Everything was a lie." "Not everything." His hand reached out slowly, then dropped. "The way I feel about you is real, inconvenient and dangerous and completely real." I wanted to scream, to run, to pretend the last 8 months, the last hour, had never happened. But Victor's words kept echoing. "She's a liability." "What happens now?" I whispered. "To me." Konstantin's jaw clenched. "Now you have 2 choices. You accept my protection, publicly become mine. In my world, that means you're untouchable. No one will harm you because doing so means declaring war on me personally. And if I don't want to be claimed, then you're a loose end." His eyes held genuine anguish. "A civilian who knows too much, and loose ends get tied up permanently." The threat hung between us, unspoken but clear. "That's not a choice. That's a hostage situation." "I know." He stood, turning away. "And I'm sorry. I never wanted this for you. I tried to keep my distance, but I'm a selfish bastard who wanted you too much to stay away. Now you're paying for my weakness." I should have been terrified. Should have been planning my escape, figuring out how to get to the police, anything. Instead, I found myself asking, if I stay, if I accept this protection, what does that actually mean? He turned back, something like hope flickering in his eyes. "It means you move in with me. Publicly, obviously. Everyone in my organization needs to know you're mine, that touching you means war. Privately," he moved closer. "Privately, we figure out if you can forgive me for lying, if you can accept what I am, if what we feel is strong enough to survive reality. You're asking me to date a criminal, to become part of your world. I'm asking you to let me protect you from the danger I put you in." He offered his hand. "I won't force you. If you want to run, I'll set you up somewhere far from here. New identity, money to start over, protection from a distance. You'll never see me again." His hand hung in the air between us. 8 months of careful courtship had led to this. A choice between running forever or accepting protection from a man who'd lied about everything. The smart choice was obvious. Run. Get as far from Konstantin Volkov and his violent world as possible. But as I looked into his eyes and saw the vulnerability beneath the danger, saw the man who'd brought me coffee and fixed my sink, and made me feel cared for even while lying about who he was, I realized something terrifying. I didn't want to run. "If I stay," I said slowly, "I need the truth, all of it, no more lies." "You'll have it." "And boundaries. I'm a nurse. I save lives. I won't be part of whatever you do." "Understood." "And the second I feel unsafe, or like I'm losing myself, I walk away. No arguments." His jaw clenched, but he nodded. "Agreed." I took his hand. The next 72 hours passed in a blur of surreal domesticity and creeping dread. Constantine's men moved my belongings while I was at the hospital. When I returned, exhausted from a double shift, my clothes hung in his closet next to suits that probably cost more than my monthly salary. My toiletries lined the bathroom counter. My medical textbooks filled a new bookshelf. It looked like we'd been living together for years, instead of 3 days. "You didn't have to buy me furniture," I said, staring at the bookshelf. "I want you comfortable." He came up behind me, hands settling on my shoulders. "This is your home now, too." Home. The word felt foreign applied to the apartment of a crime boss. But he was trying. In his own twisted way, he was trying to make this work. "I have to tell my friend Natasha something," I said. "She's been calling nonstop. She knows something's wrong." His hands tightened fractionally. "What will you tell her?" "That I moved in with my neighbor. That things moved fast." I turned to face him. "I won't tell her what you are, but I can't just disappear from my best friend's life." "Okay," he studied my face, "but be careful. The less people know, the safer you are." That night, I met Natasha for coffee and lied more smoothly than I'd ever thought possible. "You moved in with him." Natasha's eyes were huge. "After 8 months of barely talking, Gianna, that's insane." "I know it sounds crazy." I forced a smile. "But when you know, right?" "I guess, but..." She leaned forward, lowering her voice. "Are you okay, really okay? Because you seem off, distracted." "I'm fine, just adjusting." "To living with a hot neighbor." She grinned, but concern lingered in her eyes. "Okay, but I want to meet him, properly. Dinner this weekend." "He's really busy with work." "Gianna," Natasha caught my hand. "You're my best friend. I've known you since nursing school. I've seen you through bad relationships, terrible shifts, your sister's death. And right now, you're lying to me." Guilt twisted my stomach. "Nat, whatever's going on, you can tell me. You know that, right?" I wanted to. God, I wanted to tell her everything. That the man I'd moved in with was a Russian mobster, that I was trapped by my own choices, that I'd fallen for someone who killed people for a living. But Constantine's words echoed. "The less people know, the safer you are." "I'm fine," I lied. "I promise, just adjusting to living with someone. You know how I am about my space." She didn't believe me. I could see it in her eyes, but she let it drop. "Okay, but Gianna, when you're ready to tell me what's really going on, I'm here." I left the coffee shop feeling like I'd lost something precious. That night, Constantine came home late, blood on his knuckles. "Let me see," I said automatically, my nurse training overriding everything else. He let me lead him to the bathroom, let me clean and bandage his split knuckles without protest. "Did you kill someone tonight?" I asked quietly. "Yes." The flat honesty should have sent me running. Instead, I just nodded, finishing the bandage. "Was it necessary?" "They were moving against one of our operations, planning to kill my people." He watched my face carefully. "They needed to understand that's not acceptable." I thought about the gunshot victims I'd treated, the gang violence, the senseless deaths. Thought about the monsters who walked free while innocent people suffered. "Does it disgust you?" he asked, "knowing what I've done?" "It should," I admitted. "Everything I've been taught says I should be horrified, but I've seen too much, Constantine. I've seen what real monsters do to innocent people, and if you're targeting other monsters..." I trailed off. "That doesn't make me a good man." "No," I helped him out of his bloody shirt, "but maybe it makes you less terrible than you could be." He pulled me close, resting his forehead against mine. "How are you so calm about this?" "I'm not." My hands shook where they pressed against his chest. "I'm terrified, but I'm also here, and I'm choosing to stay." "Why?" "Because I love you." The words came out before I could stop them. "God help me, I do." His kiss was desperate, grateful, tinged with something like wonder. We made love that night with a tenderness that broke my heart. Afterward, holding each other in the dark, he told me about his family. "My father is Grigory Volkov. He built the Bratva's American operations from nothing. He's brilliant, ruthless, and completely without mercy. And your mother. Dead, cancer when I was 12. His voice was flat. After that, it was just me and the organization. Do you have siblings? A half-brother, Alexei. He's in Miami. We're not close. He stroked my hair absently. I was groomed for this from birth, Jayana. My father made sure I understood that emotions were weakness, that caring about people made you vulnerable. But you care anyway. Yeah, he smiled sadly. Which makes me a liability in his eyes. That's why I'm in Chicago instead of New York, running a smaller operation where my weaknesses won't compromise the main family business. Loving people isn't a weakness. In my world, it is. He turned to face me fully. The moment someone knows you care about something, they can use it against you. You're leverage now, Jayana, a way to hurt me. The reality of that settled over me like a shroud. Maybe I should leave. Too late for that. His arm tightened around me. They know about you now. Leaving me won't make you safer. It'll make you more vulnerable. The only way you survive is by being officially, publicly mine. 2 days later, I met Grigory Volkov. Konstantin drove us to a restaurant I'd never heard of. The kind of place without a sign, where reservations were impossible unless you knew the right people. Grigory was waiting in a private room. Older than I expected, late 50s, with silver hair and the same sharp features as his son. But where Konstantin had moments of warmth, Grigory was ice from the first glance. "Father," Konstantin said, "this is Jayana Renz." English for our guest. Grigory's English was perfect, barely accented. "Nurse Renz, my son tells me you're working at Chicago Memorial." "Yes, sir." "Sit." We sat. Konstantin kept his hand on my knee under the table, a reminder that I wasn't alone. "So," Grigory poured wine for all of us, "you've complicated my son's life considerably." I wasn't trying to. No one ever is. He sipped his wine, studying me. "Tell me, Nurse Renz, what do you know about my organization?" "Enough to know I shouldn't be here." That surprised a laugh out of him. "Honest, Konstantin says you understand what he is. What we are, is that true?" "I'm learning." "And you're not afraid?" I thought about lying, but something in Grigory's eyes told me he'd see right through it. "I'm terrified," I admitted. "Of you, of this world, of what might happen to me, but I care about your son anyway." "Caring about my son is dangerous. It makes you a target. Are you prepared for that?" "No, but I'm here anyway." Grigory set down his wine glass. "My son has always been too soft, too emotional. I tried to train it out of him, but I failed." His eyes moved to Konstantin, something unreadable in them. "He cares about things he shouldn't, people he shouldn't protect." "Loving people isn't a weakness," I said before I could stop myself. "In our world, it absolutely is." His gaze returned to me, hard as diamonds. "But since you're here, since Konstantin has claimed you publicly, I'll make something clear. You are under Volkov protection now. Anyone who harms you will be hunted down and destroyed. But that protection comes with expectations." "What kind of expectations?" "Loyalty, absolute and complete. You don't talk to police. You don't discuss our business. You don't compromise this family in any way." He leaned forward. "Can you do that?" I thought about Natasha, about my oath as a nurse, about everything I'd been taught about right and wrong. Then I looked at Konstantin and saw the tension in his jaw, the worry in his eyes. "Yes," I said firmly. "I've made my choice. I'm with Konstantin. That means I'm loyal to him and to your family." Grigory studied me for a long moment, then nodded. "Good. Welcome to the family, Nurse Renzo. Try not to get yourself killed." We left the restaurant hours later, and I felt like I'd survived a battle. "You did well," Konstantin said in the car. "He likes you, that's rare." "He threatened me." "He protected you. There's a difference." I stared out the window at Chicago blurring past, trying to process what I'd just committed to. "There's something I need to tell you," Konstantin said quietly, "about why I moved into your building." My stomach clenched. "Okay." "There's a man in 2B Owen Fisher. He embezzled from one of our front companies over $2 million. He didn't look at me. My father wanted me to handle it personally. Handle it meaning kill him, make an example. My hands clenched in my lap. Have you done it? Not yet. I was supposed to months ago, but then I met you and I kept delaying. He finally looked at me. My father's getting impatient. Owen Fisher. I'd seen him in the elevator, a quiet accountant who always smiled and said hello. When? I whispered. Soon. I can't put it off much longer without looking weak. And there's nothing I can say to stop you. You could ask me not to. His voice was strained. If you asked, I'd find another way, exile him, strip him of everything. But it would cost me, Gianna. My father would see it as weakness. So I had a choice. Let him kill Owen Fisher and live with that knowledge, or ask for mercy and potentially damage his standing. There was no good answer, no right choice. Do what you have to do, I heard myself say. But don't tell me about it, just handle your business and keep me separate from it. Relief and respect flashed across his face. I can do that. Good. We drove in silence. When we got home, he pulled me close. Thank you, he said quietly. For what? For understanding. For not asking me to be something I'm not. For staying anyway. I kissed him, tasting the darkness and the light all tangled together. Just promise me one thing, I whispered against his lips. Anything. Don't let this world destroy who I am. Don't let me become someone I don't recognize. His arms tightened around me. I promise. You're my light, Gianna, the one good thing in my life. I'll protect that. I'll protect you. I wanted to believe him. God help me, I did. 3 weeks later, everything went to hell. I was halfway through my shift at Chicago Memorial, stitching up a teenager who'd been caught in crossfire, when Natasha grabbed my arm. Gianna, there are men asking for you at the nurse's station. My blood went cold. What men? I don't know. They're not wearing visitor badges. They look. She lowered her voice. Dangerous. No. Constantine had promised I was safe, that no one would touch me, that his protection was absolute. But he'd also warned me that his enemies would see me as leverage. I grabbed my phone with shaking hands. 7 missed calls from Constantine, 3 text messages. Stay at the hospital, don't leave. Victor's been compromised. Yuri knows about you. I'm coming, don't go anywhere alone. I need to call security, I said to Natasha. Already did, they're on their way. The lights went out. Emergency power kicked in immediately, bathing everything in eerie red light. Around us, monitors beeped, patients called out in confusion, and somewhere an alarm began to wail. What's happening? Natasha clutched my arm. Then I heard it, gunfire, distant but unmistakable. Get everyone into the supply closets, I snapped, my training taking over. Now, lock the doors. Don't come out until security gives the all clear. What about you? I'll be right behind you. Go. She hesitated, then ran, shepherding patients and nurses toward safety. I ran the opposite direction, toward the stairwell. If Yuri's men were here for me, I needed to draw them away from innocent people. I made it 2 floors down before they caught me. 3 men materialized from the shadows, moving with military precision. One grabbed me from behind, hand clamping over my mouth before I could scream. No noise, he said in accented English. You come quiet or we kill everyone on this floor. They zip-tied my hands and threw a hood over my head. The world went dark. When they pulled the hood off, I was in a warehouse. Concrete floors, metal walls, the smell of oil and rust. And standing in front of me was a man I'd never seen before but somehow knew instantly. Yuri Antonov. Konstantin had mentioned him once, a rival looking to expand into Volkov territory. Nurse Renzo, he said, his English better than I expected. Finally we meet. What do you want? What I want is the Midwest. What I have is leverage. He circled me like a shark. You see, Konstantin Volkov has a weakness. You, and weaknesses can be exploited. My heart hammered. He won't negotiate with you. Oh, I think he will. Because if he doesn't, I'll send him pieces of you until he changes his mind. Terror clawed up my throat, but I forced it down. I was a trauma nurse. I'd seen the worst humanity had to offer and kept working. I could survive this. You won't kill me, I said, voice steadier than I felt. I'm only valuable to you alive. True. But there are many ways to hurt someone without killing them. He nodded to one of his men. Make the call. They forced me to my knees, gun pressed to my temple while Yuri called Konstantin. Volkov, Yuri said pleasantly. I have something of yours. Would you like to hear her scream? I couldn't hear Konstantin's response, but Yuri's smile widened. You have 12 hours to deliver the docs to me. Full control, no conditions. After that, I start taking fingers. He ended the call. 12 hours. They chained me to a pipe in the corner, left me with one guard while the others prepared for whatever was coming. The guard was young, maybe 25, with a split lip that was becoming infected. That lip looks bad, I said after an hour of silence. He glanced at me, suspicious. I'm a nurse. I can see the infection from here. I shifted, making my voice conversational. You should get it treated. If it gets into your bloodstream, you could die. Shut up. I'm just saying, you're going to be in serious trouble in a few days, but hey, not my problem. I paused. Unless you let me look at it, I might be able to help. Why would you help me? Because I'm a nurse. It's what I do. I met his eyes. And because you look like you didn't sign up for kidnapping women. You look like you got dragged into something you'd rather not be part of. He was quiet for a long moment. Then, surprisingly, he knelt in front of me. You try anything, I shoot you. Understood. My hands were still zip-tied, but he angled his face so I could see. The split lip was definitely infected, red and swollen. You need antibiotics, I said, but I can clean it, at least slow the infection. With what? I looked around the warehouse. There, that bottle, it looks like industrial cleaner. Bring it here. He did. I had him pour some on a relatively clean cloth, then talked him through cleaning the wound. It wasn't perfect, but it was better than nothing. Thank you, he said quietly when we were done. You're welcome. What's your name? Pavel. I'm Gianna. I paused. Pavel, you don't have to be part of this. When Konstantin comes, and he will come, you could walk away. Tell him you helped me. He'd let you live. Pavel's face hardened. Yuri would kill my family. Konstantin could protect them. Maybe, maybe not. He stood, backing away. I'm sorry you're here, but I can't help you. I nodded, understanding. We were both trapped in our own ways. Hours crawled past. I counted them by the shifting light through the high windows. 8 hours, 9, 10. Yuri came back periodically to check on me, each time making new threats about what he'd do when the deadline passed. But I noticed something. His men were getting nervous. They kept checking weapons, glancing at the doors, jumping at shadows. They were afraid of Konstantin. Good. At hour 11, the power went out. For 3 seconds, everything was pitch black. Then emergency lights flickered on, casting everything in dim red. Positions, Yuri shouted. His men scrambled, weapons raised, scanning the darkness beyond the warehouse doors. Then the doors exploded inward. Konstantin came through the smoke like a demon from hell, followed by Victor and at least a dozen other men. The gunfire was deafening, muzzle flashes strobing through the darkness like lightning. I threw myself flat, chains rattling as bullets tore through the air above me. Men screamed. Bodies fell. The smell of cordite and copper filled the air. Through the chaos, I saw him. Konstantin moved like violence incarnate, precise, brutal, unstoppable. He put 2 bullets in the man guarding me without breaking stride. Then he was there, kneeling beside me. Gianna, his hands shook as he broke the chains, pulled me up. Are you hurt? I'm okay, Get her out, he shouted to Victor, then turned back toward the fighting. Wait, I grabbed his arm. There's a kid, Pavel, he helped me. Dark hair, scarred lip, don't kill him. Konstantin's eyes searched mine for half a second, then he nodded. Victor, Pavel lives, pass it on. Victor grabbed me, pulling me toward the exit. I looked back once and saw Konstantin advancing on Yuri, who was backing away, gun raised but hands shaking. Then Victor pulled me outside, and I couldn't see anymore. They took me to a safe house. A doctor checked me over, one of Grigori's people apparently. No serious injuries, some bruising, dehydration, shock. She needs rest, the doctor told Victor, and she shouldn't be alone. Konstantin will be here soon, Victor said. His earlier coldness toward me had thawed. Apparently getting kidnapped by his enemies had earned me some respect. You did good, girl, staying calm. That saved your life. Where is he? I asked. Konstantin. Finishing business. I knew what that meant. 2 hours later, Konstantin walked through the door. He was covered in blood. His shirt was torn. His knuckles were split and swollen. There was a cut above his eyebrow that needed stitches. But he was alive. Gianna, he crossed the room in 3 strides, pulling me into his arms so tightly I could barely breathe. Thank God, thank God. I felt him shaking. This man who'd walked through gunfire without flinching was trembling as he held me. I'm okay, I whispered. I'm here, I'm okay. When I got that call, his voice broke. When I heard his voice, knew he had you. But you came, you saved me. He pulled back enough to look at me, and what I saw in his eyes made my breath catch. Raw terror, desperate relief, and underneath it all, love so fierce it was almost frightening. I would burn down the entire city to get you back, he said quietly. I would kill everyone who even looked at you wrong. You understand that, right? What you mean to me. I understand. Do you? His hands cupped my face. Because there's no going back now, Gianna. What I did tonight, Yuri's entire operation is gone. Every man who was in that warehouse. I made sure no one will ever think about touching you again. How many? I whispered. 17. 17 men dead, because of me. I should have been horrified, should have pulled away, demanded he take me somewhere far from his violent world. Instead, I pulled him closer. Thank you, I said, for coming for me. Always, he kissed me desperately. Always, Gianna, you're mine and I protect what's mine. The aftermath was complicated. Yuri's death created a power vacuum that took weeks to resolve. Konstantin spent long hours in meetings with his father, negotiating territory, making alliances, consolidating power. I went back to work at Chicago Memorial, but everything felt different. I couldn't walk through those hallways without remembering men with guns, without flinching at shadows. Natasha cornered me in the break room 2 weeks after the kidnapping. The hospital is saying it was a robbery gone wrong, she said quietly. But I saw those men, Gianna. I saw how they moved. That wasn't a robbery. I stared at my coffee, saying nothing. And your boyfriend, Konstantin, I looked him up. Her voice dropped to barely a whisper. There's nothing. No social media, no public records beyond basic information. It's like he doesn't exist. What kind of person has no digital footprint in 2024? Nat. I'm not judging, she grabbed my hand. I just need to know, are you safe, really safe? I thought about Konstantin's promise, about the men he stationed outside my hospital, watching, protecting, about the way Grigori had nodded approvingly when I'd returned to work instead of cowering in fear, about the way I'd stitched up Konstantin's wounds last night and fallen asleep in his arms, feeling safer than I'd ever felt before. I'm safe, I said. I promise he protects me. Okay, she squeezed my hand. But Gianna, if that ever changes, if you ever need to run, you call me. Day or night, I'll help you disappear. Tears burned my eyes. Thank you. She hugged me tight. That's what best friends are for. That night, I came home to find Konstantin on the balcony, staring out at the Chicago skyline. Hey, I said softly, wrapping my arms around him from behind. You okay? I've been thinking, he turned to face me, about what happened, about the danger I put you in just by being with you. My stomach dropped. Constantine. Let me finish. He took my hands. I can give you an out, right now, tonight. New identity, money, protection from a distance. You could have a normal life, Jayana, away from all this. You're trying to get rid of me. I'm trying to give you a choice. His voice was rough. A real choice, not one made under duress, because I love you too much to keep you trapped in my world if you don't want to be here. I looked at this man, this killer, this criminal, this person who'd massacred 17 men to save me, who brought me coffee every morning, who memorized my schedule and made sure I ate on long shifts, who looked at me like I was his salvation. I don't want out. I said firmly, I want you, all of you, the darkness and the light. Jayana. I mean it. I stepped closer, rising on my toes to kiss him. I've made my choice, Constantine. I'm choosing you, your world, this life, all of it. Relief transformed his face. He kissed me like I was air, like I was everything, his hands tangling in my hair. When we pulled apart, he reached into his pocket. Then I have something for you. He opened a small velvet box. Inside was a ring, white gold with a single diamond, elegant and perfect. But it was the inscription inside the band that made my breath catch. Russian characters I couldn't read. What does it say? I whispered. Moya Dusha, his voice was soft. It means my soul. Because that's what you are to me, Jayana. You're the soul I thought I'd lost a long time ago. Constantine. Marry me. He dropped to one knee right there on the balcony, this dangerous man kneeling before me. Not because you're trapped, not because you're scared, but because you choose this. Choose me, choose us. I should have said no. Should have demanded more time, more normalcy, something that made sense. Instead, I said, yes. He slipped the ring on my finger, and it fit perfectly, like it was always meant to be there. You're insane, he said, pulling me into his arms. Completely insane for saying yes to me. Then I'm your kind of insane. We made love on the balcony as the city lights twinkled below us, two broken people finding something whole in each other. 6 months later, I stood in the kitchen of Constantine's, our apartment, coffee brewing while I reviewed patient charts. Morning sunlight streamed through the windows, painting everything gold. The life I'd built was strange, surreal. I worked at a private clinic now, one that served Bratva families primarily. It was a compromise we'd reached. I could still practice medicine, still save lives, but in a way that didn't expose Constantine's world to outside scrutiny. Grigory had actually been the one to suggest it. The families need good medical care, he'd said. Care from someone they can trust, someone who understands discretion. I'd agreed. It meant treating gunshot wounds without reporting them. It meant learning which questions not to ask. It meant compromising principles I once thought were unshakable. But it also meant saving lives that would have been lost otherwise. Women and children who had no other options. Men who would have bled out rather than go to a hospital. I'd found a strange kind of purpose in it. Constantine came up behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist. Good morning, Moya Dusha. I leaned back against him. Good morning. How did the meeting go? Well, Victor's handling the new territory. My father is pleased. He kissed my neck. Which means I get a rare day off. What should we do with it? I was thinking. I turned to face him. We could visit my sister's grave. I haven't been in a while. Something soft crossed his face. He knew how much my sister Lucia meant to me, how her death from an overdose years ago still haunted me. Of course, whatever you need. This was the man I'd married 3 months ago in a quiet ceremony with Grigory as witness. This gentle, careful version that only I got to see. But I'd also seen the other side. The night he'd come home covered in blood after eliminating a threat to the family. The cold calculation when he discussed business. The absolute ruthlessness that defined his world. I'd learned to love both sides, the monster and the man. My phone buzzed. Natasha. Coffee this week. I miss you. I smiled, texting back. Thursday, my treat. How is she? Constantine asked, reading over my shoulder. Good. still asking questions but learning when to stop. She's a good friend, loyal. Coming from Constantine, that was high praise. Loyalty was everything in his world. I finished my coffee, then grabbed my medical bag. I should go. Mrs. Orlover is due for a checkup. I'll drive you. You don't have to. I want to. He caught my hand, threaded our fingers together. The ring he'd given me gleamed on my finger, a reminder of promises made and choices accepted. Besides, I like watching you work. You're beautiful when you're saving lives. Even when those lives belong to criminals. Especially then, he kissed me softly. You bring light to darkness, Gianna. You make monsters remember they're human. It's a gift. We drove through Chicago together, and I looked out at the city I'd lived in for years but was only now truly seeing. I understood its hidden layers now, the territories and power structures, the unspoken rules that governed the underworld. It should have terrified me. Instead, I felt oddly at peace. At a red light, Constantine squeezed my hand. Any regrets? I thought about the past 6 months, the fear and violence and moral compromises, but also the love and protection and fierce devotion. The way Constantine looked at me like I was precious. The way I'd found purpose in healing his world's wounded. The family I'd gained in the Volkovs, twisted though it was. No regrets, I said honestly. You. Not a single one. He brought my hand to his lips. You're the best decision I ever made. Even though I complicated your life. Especially because you complicated my life. His smile was genuine, warm, the smile of the man I'd first fallen for, now paired with the honesty of who he really was. You made me remember what I was fighting for, what mattered beyond power and territory and the organization. The light turned green. He drove on, and I watched Chicago blur past, thinking about the choices that had led me here. I'd chosen love over safety, complexity over simplicity, a monster who loved me absolutely over a normal life that would have left me empty. And somehow, impossibly, I'd found belonging in the darkness. My phone rang. The clinic. Dr. Renzo, we have an emergency. GSW to the abdomen, patient is. I'm 5 minutes out, I said, already mentally preparing. Have the oar ready. Constantine heard the shift in my tone, immediately changed course, driving faster. I'll have men stationed at the clinic. Extra security. Thank you. This was my life now. Saving lives by day, sleeping beside a killer at night. Healing wounds that came from a world I was now part of. Finding light in darkness and somehow making it work. We pulled up to the clinic. I grabbed my bag, but Constantine caught my arm before I could leave. I love you, he said intensely. Every day I'm grateful you chose to stay. I love you too, I kissed him quickly. My beautiful monster. Your monster, he agreed. Always yours. I ran inside to save a life, and he watched me go with love and pride and possessive devotion written across his face. We were impossible, improbable, morally complicated and deeply flawed. But we were also real, true, and somehow, against all odds, we'd built something that worked. I'd found my place in the darkness, and I'd found my home in the arms of a man who would burn the world down to keep me safe. No regrets. Not a single one. If you made it to the end of Gianna and Constantine's story, hit that like button right now. I want to see if your team Impossible Love or team Run While You Can. Drop a comment telling me, could you forgive the lies and love a man like Constantine? What would you have done in Gianna's position? And listen, this is just the beginning. Constantine's brother Alexei in Miami. He's got his own dark secrets and his own impossible love story coming soon. Grigory's past. There's a reason he's so ruthless, and that story will break your heart. If you want to see these stories, if you want more morally gray men and the strong women who tame them, subscribe now and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single upload. Share this video with your friends who love dark romance. Let's build a community of people who understand that love isn't always clean, isn't always safe, but is always worth fighting for. I'll see you in the next story. Until then, choose your monsters wisely, or choose them dangerously. Either way, make sure they're worth it. Black heart.